Jeff from Primordial Serpent. Welcome to Nightbreed. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. You?
Jeff, the man behind Primordial Serpent. Welcome to Nightbreed. How you going, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, doing well.
Right
So
on.
with the time difference, it's like crack of dawn over here. And what time is it for you?
It's about 8 p.m. right now for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Just winding down too,
yeah,
man. Cool.
yeah, pretty
Um,
much. Yeah,
yeah. So Primordial Serpent started 2020, right?
it did. Yeah, it started in 2020, August, September, somewhere around that time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then pretty much just been carrying it on ever since, just from my basement, just writing and recording music. Um, done about what 6 or 7 albums now, I think, or something like
Mm,
that.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
pretty very productive, man. So that first
Yeah.
one, Ascension of the Dark Age, are those songs that you sort of had in the bank already, or are you kind of like writing and recording all at the same time?
No, I was writing and recording at the same time. Like basically at that point, I wasn't really thinking anything of like Primordial Serpent or thinking it was going to be getting to the point where it is now. I was just kind of like fucking around in my basement, just like writing songs that were kind of like based off a video game series. And I was just like, oh, maybe I'll send this out to like a label or something and see what happens from there. And then all of a sudden, I got onto like a few YouTube promotional channels and I had my stuff released on tape and CD. And then I had like other labels like started following me and like on my Instagram page. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. Well, let's see where this goes.
Mm, yeah, that's cool, man. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Primordial Serpent's a Dark Souls creature, right?
Yeah. It's basically like initially, like what they are in the video game in the first one is that they basically kind of like dictate the two different choices and what the player can take. You can either like, you can either go down this path and like have like or either the path of good or the path of like evil, and they basically kind of like manipulate the player into doing these kind of like choices that dictate the ending of the game and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, does that mean is the lyrical content all sort of based around that as well?
The first album was and when I went, but then I kind of started going away from there and started like focusing on like other things that I was interested in, like mythology, um, pagan themes around winter, my internal struggles, and Satanism and things like that. Um, like initially, I kind of wanted it to be around the game, but I was just kind of like, you know what? There's only so much I can do with the franchise. I kind of want to use my name for different areas and do songs about different things, but still keep the name because the name is cool.
Yeah, fair enough. Then. Talking about mythology, your 2021 album, Ancient Myths and Legends, that cover art's pretty great, man. Where's that image come from?
That came from a artist by the name of Logan Hamilton, and I posted on my Instagram page that I was looking for something that was like sort of like epic art, but kind of had like a cool storybook kind of like look
Mm,
to it.
mhm.
Um, so a guy named Logan Hamilton reached out to me, and he um, offered his services for doing the art, saying that he's like specialized in like acrylic painting and all that stuff. And he said like, yeah, he'd be willing to do it. And then I saw it, and I really liked what I saw at first. But when I tried to put like my Primordial Serpent logo onto it, I could barely see it because of how incredibly bright it was.
Mm.
So I had to add like this like kind of grainy kind of like storybook kind of filter to it in order to actually see like the Primordial Serpent logo in the album text.
Mm. Cool. No, it's come out well, man. I think it looks good.
Yeah, I
So
thought it did too.
yeah, so you've been on a few splits as well. Starting with Sumas from Thailand. How'd you get together with those guys?
If I remember now, I think it was a label called Vintage Cult Records that wanted to do a split with a band from Thailand, and they were called Sumas.
Hmm.
And I think I said that because like I wasn't. That was around the time where I did Father of the Abyss, and he was interested in wanting to do like tapes with it, and I said
Mm.
like sure if you want to go ahead and do it. And then he said like, would you be willing to like put that onto a split with like a band called Sumis here in Thailand? And I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
and and it wasn't actually until like I think sometime last year when I was at a party and I brought my Primordial Serpent tape and it said like I never actually heard these guys before, so let's put this on. And we're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool stuff. I'm actually glad I did a split with these guys. But yeah, it was just basically a label wanting to release my stuff and another band wanting to like release their EP, so we just decided to make it a split release.
Yeah, cool. And then you did one with Hell Moon, another Winnipeg black metal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, do you know it,
I'm
is
very
it
good friend.
Plug? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very good friends with Flog.
Mm.
He goes by many aliases on Instagram. He's also known as Rotting Rain, which is his like art handle.
Okay.
He's also Funeral from a band called Nocturnal Departure.
Mm-hmm.
And he also plays in a few grindcore acts in the city, one called Flash Out and another one called the name escapes me, but if I what's it called? I can't remember what the name is. I have a shirt of it, but I can't remember what the name is. But he does play in another grindcore band.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then yeah, one of the other splits you're on the Masters of Chaos Productions one with like three other bands, the Black Dragon Risers. How'd you
Yeah.
get, because again they're from all over Colombia, Singapore, Thailand. How'd you get together with that one?
So the guy who runs that label, Jay Parker, added me on Facebook after hearing "Hail the Serpent," because in his words, he said that was a cracking EP,
Nice,
and
yeah.
I said, "Oh, thanks, man." And then we just kind of like collaborated and just did like some splits. And he said like, "Hey, would you be interested in like having some of your material being like featured on like these like splits with bands from like Thailand and Brazil or not Brazil from Colombia?"
Mm,
And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. I'll send you the tracks and you know, you do what you want with them. You know, it's free promotion for me, right? So
mm. Yeah,
might
yeah.
as well do it."
Wow, that's cool, man. So away from Primordial Serpent for a sec, what other bands you've been checking out? What are you listening to?
Uh, what other bands have I been checking out? Well, I've been really listening to like it's hard to say, but like I've been trying to like get into like some other bands recently. War Moon Lord is one I've been listening to a fair bit. There's a black metal act that I occasionally listen to called Drowning the Light,
Oh yeah, no,
based from
John, right?
Australia.
Yeah. Mm, yeah.
Yep. And what else is another one? I've been getting into like Archgoat. Just bought their record the other day when I was at a show.
Hmm.
And basically, I kind of just listen to whatever people send me, and I just kind of go from there. A lot of it good, some of it not my thing, but
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for me to keep track on like what's new because like there's just so much material out there now with like home recording and people
Mm.
sending me their stuff and people sending other people stuff. So I try to like um, listen to more current releases as much as possible, but it's hard for me to do that.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah. So January 17 this year, Adversary of God, your seventh album came out.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think your like your writing has changed since you started, 3 something years ago?
I would say it's gotten more melodic and a bit more darker sounding
Hmm.
because when I went back and listened to like Ascension of the Dark Age, it was very like thrash influenced
Sure.
and not quite as like black metal influenced. And it wasn't until like over the years when I was like listening to like where I really got back into black metal again, like heavily, like just listening to bands like Sargeist and like War Moon Lord and like Immortal and like all like the bands I used to listen to occasionally, but now I've been really listening to like Arcanum and Armageddon and all these like Scandinavian like black
Mm.
metal bands.
Yeah.
And I think when I started like really getting into that, my style of playing changed. It was more focused on like a melodic style black metal instead of like a more thrashier style of like black metal.
Yeah. Mm. Cool. And what about production? Like I think I can definitely hear a difference across the albums. Are you using the same software right through? Have you upgraded or
Well,
something?
I use the same recording program like Ableton,
Mm.
but in the last little while, like I've always like experimented with like different kinds of like guitar tones on albums and
Mm.
Sometimes I would like DI my guitar and use like plugins,
Hmm.
which is what I used for Adversary of God. And sometimes I would like mic my guitar up to like the amplifier and do that.
Mm.
But I always like to vary my sound when it comes to every album. I don't want every album like sounding exactly the same. I
Yeah.
want to try changing the production up a little bit. Maybe if I'm going for more of like a darker sound, I'll have like a bit more of like a gothier like aspect to it. But if I'm like going for more like a thrashier sound, I have more like a raw like style aspect to it.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool. So 7 albums in, lots of EPs and splits. What's next for Primordial Serpent? What are you up to?
Uh, I don't know. we'll, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll find out because Primordial Serpent is just kind of something that's like partly a hobby and like partly a passion.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
who knows? Like maybe 5 months from now, I'll do like some sort of like epic like 2 hour thing, or maybe like another EP or something. I don't know. It's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could really vary.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So you just kind of start writing and then go, okay, this feels like it's going to be this or this. Or
Yeah, for more. It's
yeah.
like if I feel like I have like once I get like one song going, that's kind of enough for me to get like the feel going for getting like another like 3 or 4 songs out or something at that time.
Mm.
So
Yeah. No, that's cool. Actually, talking about writing, how do you go about it? Like, are you going drums first or guitar first, or do you have like a method, you know?
usually what I do is I start with one simple guitar riff, and then what I do is I kind of build around it. And once I get like a decent like I guess like amount of ideas like centered around that one hook riff, then I go to my computer and then I start programming and doing the drums and start mapping everything out. And then I start like playing along to the drum patterns and I start like recording different riffs in different sections, and then I just kind of get everything I guess compiled together. And once I feel like I have something concrete enough, then I that's when I start like adding like the bass, and that's when I start adding like like the other guitar, my vocals and synths and so on and so forth.
Yeah. No, nice, man. That's cool. Look, Jeff, thanks for your time. I'm really digging Adversary of God and definitely looking forward to whatever comes next, man. Thanks a lot.
Sure, man. Take care.
Cool. Yeah.